Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Hey, good morning, Lee. Good morning, Glen. What is going on with you two?
Dave Martin, great to see you this morning. Lee Weatherby, the champion of champions.
Thank you, Glenn. You're a kind man. Dave, good to see you. You're looking good.
Thanks, man.
You know what? I think the new year holds a lot of new things. I can tell you this. Looking forward to this year, man. It's going to be the best year ever.
Yeah, and you know, guys, before we get into the podcast, because we're basically going to kind of revisit 2025, reminisce, whatever you want to call it. But before we do that, I want to say, if you really like this podcast and you like listening to us, please subscribe. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. And Glenn, why don't you tell us a day in history?
All righty then. In January...
Kind of seems apropos.
January 6th, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Wow.
John DeLorean, and I'm sure that
What year?
one way or the
What
other.
year, Glenn?
This was in 1925.
Okay, all right.
John DeLorean was born.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this is like way before any of our time, I think. Haven't looked in the mirror lately. So he was the engineer executive, founded the DeLorean Motor Company, and that led the development of the iconic vehicles, the Pontiac GTO. Very popular car. See a lot of restorations at the car shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The GTO, the Grand Touring option, that's what the GTO stood for. And the DeLorean DMC-12, which is the iconic car from Back in the Future. Now that is...
Stainless steel.
Yeah, amazing looking vehicle.
Really amazing.
It looked space age.
Very innovative car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of ahead of its time, that's for sure.
That was ahead
well,
of
the
its time.
DeLorean John DeLorean was charged with cocaine trafficking in 1982.
We needed a fast car then.
And
Well,
I'm sure he was speeding anyway, even if he wasn't in the car.
You need a really fast car if you're trafficking cocaine. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, It was,
I don't think you want to do it in a Model A.
I can tell you this, Dave, it wasn't fast enough.
but there's a caveat to this. It
Yeah.
says, although he was acquitted in 1984
okay, good.
due to being a victim of police entrapment.
You know what? And that's, yeah.
I'm
hate
a
that when
victim.
they
I'm a
entrap me.
cocaine victim, and I'm a victim of the police. Okay. Nice talk, John.
You know what? It goes to show, though, that some of these guys, they're innovators and stuff like that. And you know what? He was desperate, I'm assuming, and was looking for an opportunity.
Hey, it's hard building cars, man. It's
He had to-
expensive.
he had to
Well,
stay
it's
up-
hard
you gotta-
fixing them.
You
for
gotta,
crying out loud, man.
you
He
gotta
had to
supplement.
stay awake 22 hours a day. So,
You have to supplement your income somehow.
Oh, my
Come
God.
on, man.
Hey! Listen, we don't want to give the wrong impression. We don't condone that kind of activity.
No,
okay?
we really don't. We don't.
There is a
But the
much
moral of the
better
story,
ways.
the
yes.
moral of the story, if you are going to do that, you need a fast car.
Don't. Not even an option. Yeah.
So, hey,
I'm gonna wait. I'll give a quote from Cheech and Chong. Only dopes use dope. There you go.
great, Cheech and Chong. Now that's going back a ways. You are old.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Lee's over there turning red. He's like,
I absolutely.
he's like,
I'm
I
just
can't
thinking,
work with
Glenn,
these
he
two.
He just pulls that out.
That was actually Sergeant Stadenko.
Wow, Sergeant Stanko. Okay.
No, Stadenko.
Stadenko. There
So,
we
so
go.
Lee, save us.
From the
now.
LA Police
Will you save us, Lee?
Department.
Bring us back to
Well, I can tell you this.
legal stuff.
I went a little bit more modern and went with Chat GPT on this one. So, in 2026, which is, you guys, I always get excited about, looking forward and obviously reflecting and looking back. But in 26, the automotive industry will hit a turning point. All right. Electric vehicles, they're becoming truly more mainstream. Software will define the driving experience. That's a little bit spooky if you think about it. Software is going to define the driving experience, and automakers will compete more. Listen to this, on technology and connectivity rather than horsepower. Interesting.
Well,
In the past, it's always been about who's got the bigger, better, thing. And now,
Fastest in the quarter mile.
who's got the gimmicks?
who's got the cubic inch,
That's
the
it.
biggest cubic inch, and everybody was going for that. But think about
That's
this.
yesteryear.
Yeah.
That's yesteryear.
But think about this. So that is awesome, because that just brings us right into, hey, 2025. What have we seen that has been
Recalls.
really innovative, or not innovative, but what we've seen differently in 2025 than we did in 2024? Think about this, and you brought up recalls, but I'm going to take it another way. Is to your quote there, is look at the innovation. Look at Waymo's.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen more Waymo's in 2025 than I had in 2024, 2023. I mean, in my area now, I know that I think they started out in Chandler, and now they've worked their way down in Central Phoenix, and they've been there for a little while.
They're in Mesa, Tempe.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
there's a whole warehouse full of them right here.
there is.
See, we didn't
yeah.
see a lot of them, but in 2025, they're all, I mean, there's everywhere. And down in Central Phoenix, where we're located at, they're everywhere. And people are using them. And even in my neighborhood where I live, they're parked in my neighborhood.
You ever been in one?
No, you know what? I'm a control freak. I don't know that I could do that.
Me neither. I was just saying the same thing.
I would have
I've
a really
never
hard
stepped in
time
one.
sitting in the vehicle with no driver and feeling comfortable.
Me too.
Yeah. But
Me too.
But
That's just
so,
me.
So,
And yet it is the wave of the future.
but just think about that technology.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still
Well, we
some,
get on airplanes and we're not flying them neither.
Yeah.
But there's
there
not
is
a
some-
robot
but
flying
there-
them
yeah,
either.
right.
But there's a fail-safe. There's a human there.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I got a friend of mine that's a pilot, and he told me that in a lot of these new Airbuses and stuff, that there's so much technology into them. Basically, their job is managing a lot
The technology.
of the technology in them, right?
Push the button.
Right. But and I'd asked him that. I said, "Do you ever think that they're going to get passenger planes where there's no pilot?" And he goes, "No." He goes, I really don't think that too many people are going to want to fly in a plane where there's no fail-safe, where there's, to your point, there's no human in there that can actually take over the
Redirect.
plane if
Well,
the
they can
software
take
goes
the
bad.
controls. They can go to manual mode and fly the
Absolutely.
plane. That's
Absolutely.
the point. You
Yeah.
know.
Absolutely.
That is the point. That is the whole point. And it's I have a lot of my clients that have used Waymo's and said it's awesome. They it's great. They've not had any issues with it. It's a great service. I don't know that I could do that yet.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a little bit like I said, I'm kind of a control freak, and I feel like if nobody's in control, I don't know that I can handle that mentally.
You know what? And I like you say, I have a hard time. I think Glenn probably stated it best for me. Sitting in the back seat of a car where there's nobody driving, yet the car's moving, I'd be uncomfortable. And of course that's just me,
And I told my wife, I says, I don't know how in the heck you're ever going to do it. I says, you'd have nobody to tell how to drive or where to go. I said, that would be really rough for you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I
Yeah.
was kidding.
But see, you guys got to understand. I'm also one of those guys that I actually used a map book at some point in time, and nowadays
He's
they
got
don't even
this
have it.
stroke across his windshield.
Right.
Where
That
we
could be
going?
very dangerous. Let
Can't
me
wait to get there.
demonstrate. Yeah. All right.
Well, I'll tell you what. One of the biggest things that I also saw, or looking back into 25, and I mean, we talked about it. I think it was one of our first shows for 25. About the cost of vehicles. You know what I mean, and how they have gone through the roof. They're now no time in history were they ever more expensive, and now what I mean. That trend is according to the statistics that I'm reading. It says the manufacturer's suggested increase is a modest around 1.4% more for base models, but the cumulative effect across the market is significant. And the reason is more technology. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Tariffs, all these crazy, inflationary pressures and everything else that we've got going on. But where you're really going to see it is in the trim levels that are chosen. So if you get the base model, you're gonna spend probably the least. You know what I mean? That you can, as far as purchasing a car, just like it's always ever been in the past. But man, as soon as you start moving up in your trim level, you know what I mean? You want a little bit more.
Now, by
You want a little
trim,
bit
by,
of radio.
well, define
you want a
trim
little bit
level.
of
Yeah,
speaker,
exactly.
You know what I mean? You want
Upgraded
a-
stereo, electric, power windows, power
Absolutely.
seats, all that.
You want,
These
you
are
want
all
cruise
the,
control.
Right.
You want ADAS. You know what I mean?
Well, and with all the technology that we're talking about in these vehicles and all the things going on, there's a little bit of trial and error in there too.
That's the big problem.
So that is the big back in the 70s and 60s, 70s and 80s, we we had vehicles that were designed the same for 10, 15, 20 years, and you could put the same part in probably 10 or 15 different vehicles. They didn't change like they do today. They change every other year, not every other year, but more often, to where they're redesigning these vehicles and they're changing them. They're not the same anymore. So what happens is they have design issues, and they have problems where, you know, it all looked good on paper, but it didn't really work.
Well, the way it's influencing the market, you guys, this is something that I've seen. I don't know if you've seen it in your shops, but you know, you can't get parts for 10-year-old vehicles anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, and
that's a
people
huge problem.
are keeping their vehicles now on average about 15 years, 14 and a half.
Or more.
Right.
Yeah.
But the key to it is a vehicle that's 10 years old. You know, the manufacturers used to service them, all right, 12, 14, 20 years later.
Oh, yeah.
And you could usually always go to a wrecking yard or something like that and get something that was hard to find. You guys, I'm telling you, now trying to source parts for some of the 20-year-old vehicles or 10-year-old vehicles, man, it's difficult.
Well, and the aftermarket used to save us, because the aftermarket used to build all those
Absolutely.
parts. You know,
They're not doing it.
right. Yeah, and the aftermarket's not. Well, and that's the aftermarket's not getting these parts. So you're right. And when you got a vehicle that's 10 years old, hey, it's no different than my buddy who does handyman stuff, and get a 5-10-year-old washing machine. Try to get parts for that. It's hard.
Well, let me say, I may be a conspiracy theorist, but you know, planned obsolescence. They want these machines, these refrigerators, the air conditioning units, whatever, to expire. So
That's how they make their money.
Keeps the economy
Sell
going. For certain people, it ruins other people's economy, because they're spending money that they didn't used to have to plan for.
Yeah.
Your air conditioner used to last, you know, in your house for 20 or 30 years. Now they last 7 to 10, you know, and that's considered normal lifespan.
Well, and I gotta clarify one thing here, Lee. That and I'm going to correct you on this thing, because
Please.
According to our director here, she says that according to CNBC News and S&P Global, the average age of a car, truck, or SUV in operations in the U.S. rose about to 12.6 years in 2024. In 2025, the average is projected to be 12.8 years.
Okay.
And expected. There's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
I can't even read, Dave.
Yeah, thank you for helping me out. I couldn't say the word. I don't know why I couldn't say it, but anyway, it's going to reach 13 years.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I mean, 13 to 15 years.
In
People are keeping them
2026,
longer.
in 2026, no, and to your point, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
They are keeping them longer, and we all know that.
But I mean, if they're keeping them 13 to 15 years and we can't even find parts for 10-year-old cars, it's like, what in tarnation is going on?
Well, and one thing about this statistic that doesn't really take into consideration is that we are in Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have vehicles. Now, you go back east, and I have some friends that own shops back east. I have friends that live back east, and the thing of it is that vehicle in 10, 15 years, it's rusted out.
You bet.
There's nothing left of the vehicle.
The frame, not just the body, the
Right.
frame, what makes really dangerous. The body can rot out, but when the frame rots off.
So I would be curious to say that you may be right, and I have a hard time saying that you were right, but you might be right. In Arizona, the
Hey, are
car.
we married?
No.
Lee doesn't
A
like
little
it.
weirdly, but I guess to my point is that maybe in Arizona the average age of the vehicle might be a little higher.
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint we don't have rusted out vehicles.
Yeah.
Nothing rusts out here.
Yeah.
Right. Well, another thing that I'm considering went through my mind while we were talking about that.
You have
is
a
that
mind.
I do have a mind, brilliant mind, by the way. No, is the amount of cars that get totaled out that used to be salvageable.
Oh, yeah.
The cars today are made to fold up and save the health and welfare of the occupants, right? And so cars are being totaled. I mean, there are just oodles. Probably, I'll bet you there's 5 or 6 times more than there was 20 years ago.
Which that would also help us to believe, though, that there'd be more available parts. You know what I mean? That if we were
At the wrecking yards,
wreckage,
level, there probably is to a certain degree.
Right.
But then again, I mean, it's still not super cheap to do that. My daughter had just gotten in what I considered a minor accident.
Right.
and they totaled her car.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that crazy though?
so they're totaling cars. And to your point,
the
Glenn,
airbags deploy, it can be thousands of dollars just for the
and the
airbags.
the
and all this
airbags
stuff.
didn't deploy on it.
Really?
The lady that hit her ran a stop sign, and it wrecked 2 doors on the side of the vehicle. She took a picture of what the accident was and sent it to the lady's insurance company, and they totaled the car without having anybody come out and look at it.
Yeah.
So my point being is that, to your point, you're 100% right. They are totaling, and I talked to the body shop guy that I know, he's a friend of mine, and he said, oh yeah, he said we're seeing cars that being totaled that I would have never dreamed in a million years that they would.
They used to fix them.
Yeah, they used to fix them.
And
So,
because here's the thing, 2 doors. Let's face it, guys. We can hang doors, and we're not even body men. You know what I mean? As long as there's no A-pillar damage, listen, we can hang doors.
well, what they're afraid of, and I think, and according to my body shop guy, that he told me, he goes, what they're afraid of is they go ahead and hang 2 doors, and then they find there's more problems. Or another thing is that they got a noise now, they got a vibration, they got something that the customer. So then the car just keeps coming back, and they keep on putting more and more money into it, and then that that $4,000 repair turns into a $6,000 repair or whatever. So
On the poor broke insurance companies, they can't afford to pay all that kind of money.
Well, you know what? And I hate to say
I don't think we need to get
That's
into
our
that, but-
premium skyrocket. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But
and you know what the thing of it is though, it is something that we probably need to monitor and think about, because I mean, moving forward, now we're in 26, guys. Like I say, I believe it's going to be probably one of the best years ever that we've been able to have. But the key to it is, what are some of the new things that are going to be coming out? Because, for example, I mean, in the article it talks about electric vehicles. I mean, we're seeing an abundance of electric vehicles starting to come out, and they're really supporting infrastructure for these things. So I mean, people can travel now in these electric vehicles, and I mean, you got charging stations, you know what I mean, on routes that you never would have seen these places, and it's like,
but there's not enough of them still.
No question. Listen.
And as that population of those vehicles increases, it is not conducive. The amount of charging stations is not conducive to that growth.
But it's also becoming something that the dealerships, the manufacturers are starting to push a little bit more onto the mainstream public, because I mean, I was reading in here where you've got Ford, some of the other manufacturers, Hyundai, Chevrolet, they're introducing electric vehicles at what I'm going to call
even Toyota,
well,
finally decided they're going to go with the full
entry level pricing. You know what I mean? And they're talking entry level at like $40,000, and I'm thinking, whoa.
So I got to tell you something. Our producer here just sent me something that was really interesting to me, and to your point about the pricing on that thing. According to Kelley Blue Book, new ICE. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start that over. Okay. Hey, to your point, you were talking about pricing. According to Kelley Blue Book, the new internal combustion engine car and truck prices will rise 2 to 5%, but the EV prices will fall by 3 to 8%.
Wow.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's a good statistic right there. And I didn't expect that.
Yeah, but that's only for the base models, because as I was reading further in the articles, they're talking about like Cadillac, BMW, Rivian, you know what I mean, are pushing high-end vehicles with advanced features, electronics,
well, and
and everything
that
else.
makes sense. Yeah,
that are now and longer ranges. You know what I mean? Let's face it, the further you can go in an EV, the more appealing it is, because we don't like to be locked down.
Right. Well,
those are going to be
in EV sales
premium pricing.
One other statistic, guys, and then we'll talk about this. But EV sales surging globally, expecting 20 plus million units in 2025. With this trend continuing into 2026. So what that's saying is that EV sales are going to keep climbing, and the internal combustion engine. But and here's my take on the whole thing. I think hybrid is, in my personal opinion, I like the hybrid setup a lot better than I do the EV setup.
Amen.
And the reason is,
Amen.
The reason is because you've always got that backup engine, and you've got both.
Well, the problem is you got glitches. I mean, let's face it, you guys, you got glitches.
Yeah.
If you're going full electronic, you know what I mean, and you are going with anything, I don't care. We have glitches in our computers at work.
Yeah.
We have glitches in my telephone. We have glitches in the phone systems that we use. You know what I mean? Because they're all
I
hooked
get
to the
glitches in my
computer.
body.
Yeah. I mean, and the problem is, I don't want. Well, let's go back to the Waymo thing. I don't want to have this thing being drive down the road. All of a sudden, you got a glitch, and the car decides to go through a red light. You know what I mean? And here I am thinking, wow. You know what I mean? Even to the pilot situation.
And I'm gonna digress back into the infrastructure, our country's infrastructure, and the world's infrastructure for the need for the electricity to power these things and charge them up. I mean, there is a huge crisis.
The grid, yeah.
The
Good
power
point.
grid everywhere.
Yeah.
And with more electric
It's not gonna
vehicles
be
coming
supported.
in and more electronic stuff, it can't support it. It currently can't.
Right.
And at the rate they're trying to build and sell these cars and put them to market, and I'm not trying to discourage anybody in our audience from buying an electric vehicle. I think they're awesome.
Right.
But on the other hand, you got to consider that if you're in a small community and its capacity to be able to have, half your community now owns an electric vehicle and your power grid's going down. And I'm speaking seriously. I'm not trying to be a smart guy. I'm a smart ass, if you will. I'm just trying to tell you the reality is that we are scrambling. Our country and other countries are scrambling to figure out how they're going to boost their power grid, and all of these
Can't support it.
Yeah, all these power processing centers that they have right now, these data processing centers, they are milking the daylights out of our power grid.
Well, that's just it.
Well, they got their
another
own
thing.
power plant. That's what they're creating too with these. And we're not going to get too far off topic, but like the data centers. I just drove by one on the way over here, and they got their own power plant sitting out there.
They do now.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But they didn't. And there's more of them going up all the time.
But your point, you're right.
They're still sucking off the grid.
We definitely need to figure out a way to solve a lot of these issues. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts and people that are really in the EV sector. They're even saying that EVs are part of the solution. There's not the whole solution. And who knows, in another 5 years, another 10 years, is it going to be hydrogen? Is it going to be something? There's going to be so much technology right now, and it's going at a rapid rate. And we talked about 2025. Look at how fast that went.
Well,
and look at the technology that we saw in 2025.
You bet. Well, I think this is all part of the innovative piece of the puzzle.
Right.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And listen,
yeah,
you got to keep trying things, and you got to keep looking at things. And to your point, at some point, somebody's going to take a look down the road and say, boy, this is unsustainable. You know what I mean? We just can't do this because we're putting too much of an impact on that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because it's the yin and the yang. Basically, what's going to happen is one thing's going to impact another thing, and then we're going to have to solve that problem, and that's going to impact something else, and we're going to solve another problem. Yeah. And you're right. It's part of the innovation process. Right. It's just the way it is. It is part of the innovation process.
It might not be the end all be all.
Right. It might not be. And we might have to go a total different direction because we're still digging stuff out of earth. We did this with fossil fuel. We're taking it, we're trying to get environmentally friendly and whatever. And now with batteries, what are we doing? We're still digging stuff out of the earth.
You bet. Well, and you have to use the fossil fuels to make the batteries.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. So we're kind of, it's right now.
It's incredible.
There's a lot of innovation going on.
There is.
And we've seen so much innovation in 2025. Look at ChatGPT. Look at the AI. Look at how fast and how quick that's come. And I did a class on this thing in July, and there's a young lady that was teaching the class. She was really, really brilliant. And she'd been using it for 10 years. And she said, you would not believe the first time I used it to the time I use it now, what the changes in just the AI
it
part of it.
learns.
Right. It continually learns. And she said that it's just so much when you first did it, it was kind of rough. Yeah. And now it's gotten to the point where it's pretty clean. It's figured it out. So we're going to get just better and better as far as a lot of these things go. But to your point, Glenn, is that while we're innovating and we're getting to that point, we're going to have to solve all these other worldly problems and all these other issues that are going to be created by
which is actually really, I think, kind of exciting, because anytime you innovate over here, now that creates an opportunity to innovate something else over here.
Right.
And that's why I like opportunity. It's not a problem unless you make it one.
You bet. I agree with that.
It's an opportunity to divide and conquer. Do what you have to do to get all of those problems.
Solutions.
Well,
Solutions.
Thank God there's
yeah.
people are smarter than us who are working on that stuff.
Well, and you know
in
what?
terms of
Not only smarter than us, but there's people that are willing to dedicate themselves and commit themselves, you know what I mean, to the moment, because that's what it takes. You know what I mean? Go all in, you know, and get excited about what you're doing, because it is opportunity. It really is.
Well, and we got to wrap up this podcast, but I want to kind of bring it back to our shops. The thing of it is, and I know you guys do this, and I do it in my shop, is we preach solutions.
You bet.
So solutions. So we have challenges, and we
We're
have
problem
things,
solvers, guys.
Right, we are. We're innovators.
Yeah.
We're innovators and problem
Gotta be.
solvers. So what happens is when we have a problem in our shop, and sometimes we make changes, and we just created 2 more problems, and we didn't even realize that we were going to create those 2 problems. Now we figured out, okay, so we've improved over here, and we've made something really great that's really going to help us down the road. But we've created these other 2 problems. How are we going to deal with those?
Avoid them.
Avoid them.
avoidance. The
Shut
best
the
solution.
shop down and go home.
God's answered
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I'll just
Let's-
avoid them.
Don't look back there.
Yeah, just leave. Yeah, but it's true. So when we have those challenges, we have to go to our people, and we have to go, hey, I'm not the smartest guy in the shop.
Hey, but you know
there's other guys in our shop that are just as smart or smarter than I am.
And you just said something that I loved, and that is, and that shows me a lot, you know what I mean, about you and about your shop. And this is a little key that people need to pick up on. And that is, who do you go to? You go to your guys. And why? Because we trust them.
Right.
Why else? Because you know what? They're intelligent. And why else? Because you know what? They're in the thick of it every single day. And guess what? We may have a thought that they can actually develop and make work, whereas we get stuck at, you know, D. You know what I mean? They take E, F, G and go, oh man, this, and you're just like, whoa, that was pretty quick.
Is that like preparation H? Started out with A.
Sure.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I mean, because that would be painful.
I just wonder what happened from A through G.
The one thing that before we close out that I wanted to get to is, and it's just one of the things that's going to be happening. But, you know, prices are, you know, going up. We're still fighting some of the tariff stuff, you know what I mean, that is going on, and that's not going away. You know what I mean?
Well, inflation as a whole, it's just been going up.
Yeah,
for,
it's,
you know,
it's
every
not.
year.
It's not just.
question.
It's not just the tariffs. I mean, the cost of everything is going up exponentially, and
it has
unfortunately,
been
it
for,
affects
you know,
our
years,
industry. It affects every industry.
It does.
Look at building costs,
And I'm just looking at what it's talking about.
Yeah,
here.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
They're talking about the supply chain diversification, you know what I mean, where you're not going to be really so heavily reliant on China, you know what I mean, anymore.
Right.
Where they're going to be
Get
now-
industry here. Yeah.
they're going out to Mexico, South Korea,
Well, even
some
here.
domestic facilities.
Yeah.
You're going to start hearing
Yeah.
a lot about made in the USA. You're
Right.
going to hear a lot of things, you know what I mean? And the other thing that we got to be careful of is, you know, go back to it's recent history, you know, back into 20, 21, 22, you know, during what we're going to call the COVID, you know, cycle. What were we having hard times with? Getting chips and sensors and
Yeah.
batteries and
Right,
materials.
right here in our backyard, we're building 2 of the biggest microchip plants in the world.
And guess what? They still can't get components, you know what I mean, to build the chips.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that we're seeing. So
Right, and there again, that's innovation, and what we talked about a little bit ago is the thing of it is we've innovated over here, but now we're having a problem with supply, and we're having a problem basically surrounding that innovation,
Supporting
it.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
supporting it. So
Yeah.
so we you know, we'll work through those things, and it'll happen.
You bet.
But it's, hey guys, it's been a great podcast. It's always awesome to hang out with you guys and talk, you know, shop and cars and all the
It
things
is.
that we do. And I look forward to the next podcast. And hey, subscribe. We would love to have you as a subscriber. We really appreciate you watching us. And
And we wish you all the best for 2026.
Yeah.
It's going to
Really
be
do.
a
Happy
gonna be
New
a
Year.
great
set
year.
some goals, set some targets, and then you know what? Go make them happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you need any help, listen to our podcast.
I like it. Be good.
Happy New Year.